Everyone wants wealth. Almost no one wants to become the person capable of building it. People want the freedom, the status, the security, and the power to walk away from anything that no longer serves them. But they rarely ask what wealth demands in return. Because wealth has a price, and it is not measured only in money. It may cost you comfort, it may cost you weekends, old habits, familiar relationships, and the approval of people who preferred the weaker version of you. It will force you to confront your excuses, control your impulses, and accept that no one is coming to rescue you. This is the brutal truth no one tells you. Building wealth is not mysterious. It is uncomfortable. The principles are visible, but most people avoid them because following those principles would require changing the way they think, work, spend, and live. Machiavelli understood that power does not belong to those who merely deserve it. It belongs to those who understand reality, position themselves strategically, and act before circumstances force them to. Money follows the same logic. In this video, we are going beyond motivation. You will discover why a salary can become a comfortable cage, why skill is more valuable than credentials, why ownership defeats labor, and why earning money means nothing if you cannot protect it. If you want to understand money as strategy, leverage, and control, subscribe to Money is Power. And stay until the end, because the real question is not whether you want to be wealthy. Everyone does. The real question is, what are you willing to give up to become wealthy? The first price of wealth is accepting that your current life is producing exactly what it was designed to produce. Your income, habits, relationships, and daily decisions are not separate from your financial position. They created it. This may sound harsh, especially when the economy is difficult and opportunity is unevenly distributed. External conditions matter, but a strategic person begins with the part they can control, because blaming forces you cannot influence may explain your situation, but it cannot change it. Most people say they want financial freedom while protecting every habit that keeps them financially dependent. They want more money, but refuse to study after work. They want ownership, but spend everything they earn to maintain an image. They want independence, but avoid every decision involving uncertainty. In other words, they desire a different future without accepting a different identity. That is the first brutal truth. Wealth requires transformation before it produces accumulation. You must become capable of delaying gratification when the world is engineered to make you consume immediately. You must continue building when there is no applause, no guarantee, and no visible reward. You must make decisions based on where they lead in 5 years, not how they make you feel tonight. This is not exciting. It is repetitive, quiet, and often lonely. Machiavellian thinking begins by removing illusion. It does not ask how the world should reward you. It asks what the world actually rewards. The market does not measure how exhausted you are or how badly you want success. It rewards useful value, strategic positioning, ownership, scarcity, and the ability to solve problems other people will pay to remove. This does not mean becoming dishonest or ruthless. It means refusing to confuse good intentions with effective action. You can be intelligent, hardworking, and decent, and still remain financially powerless if your effort is directed into a structure you do not own or control. The person who builds wealth eventually learns to tolerate what others avoid: uncertainty, delayed rewards, temporary embarrassment, and the possibility of failure. They understand that comfort has a hidden cost. Every year spent protecting the familiar may be another year surrendered to dependence. Wealth begins when you stop asking, "How can I earn more without changing my life?" and begin asking, "What must change in me before my financial reality can change?" And for many people, that realization leads to an uncomfortable place: the salary they call security. A salary can be useful. It can feed your family, pay your bills, and give you the capital to build something greater. But the moment it becomes your only source of survival, it also becomes a source of control. If missing one paycheck would place your entire life in danger, your employer does not merely purchase your labor, they influence your choices. You become less willing to question bad decisions, reject unreasonable demands, or leave an environment that is slowly destroying you. The salary begins to feel like security, but underneath that security is dependence. Consider two people earning the same amount. The first increases his lifestyle every time his income rises. A better apartment, a newer car, more subscriptions, and purchases designed to signal progress. From the outside, he appears successful. But his expenses rise until every paycheck is already promised before it arrives. He cannot stop working for a month. He cannot take a strategic risk. His lifestyle owns him. The second person treats the same salary differently. She controls her expenses, builds an emergency reserve, and uses part of her income to acquire valuable skills. She experiments with a small project outside her job. At first, it produces almost nothing. But over time, her skill becomes income. That income becomes an asset, and the asset gives her something more valuable than a larger paycheck: options. 10 years later, their salaries may still look similar. Their power does not. One must keep obeying the structure to survive. The other can negotiate, leave, wait, or act, because no single institution controls her entire financial life. This is why stability can be deceptive. A job may feel safe because the payment is predictable, but industries change, companies restructure, technology replaces tasks, and inflation quietly reduces purchasing power. Depending on one income is not the absence of risk. It is concentrated risk disguised as certainty. The answer is not to resign impulsively or treat employment as failure. That would replace strategy with emotion. Use your job as a foundation. Let it finance your education, reserves, investments, and experiments. Extract more than a paycheck: knowledge, relationships, discipline, and insight into how value is created. A salary should fund your independence, not permanently replace it. Because the goal is not to escape work. The goal is to reach a position where losing one source of income cannot take your freedom with it. If your salary is the foundation, skill is the first asset you must build on top of it. This is especially important when you have little money, no influential network, and no family wealth behind you. You may not control the market, the economy, or the opportunities available in your city, but you can increase your ability to create value, and that ability travels with you. A valuable skill changes the balance of power. When you can solve a difficult problem, generate revenue, reduce costs, persuade customers, build systems, or communicate ideas clearly, you become harder to ignore and more difficult to replace. You are no longer asking the market to reward your effort. You are giving it a reason to compete for your ability. Most people misunderstand this. They collect information without turning it into competence. They watch tutorials, buy courses, save articles, and confuse consumption with progress. Learning feels productive, but unless knowledge changes what you can produce, it has little financial power. The strategic approach is different. Choose one skill that creates measurable value, then practice it until the result becomes undeniable. That skill might be sales, writing, negotiation, marketing, design, programming, data analysis, or automation. The specific choice matters less than 3 questions. Does someone need it? Does it solve an expensive problem? Can you demonstrate the result? Do not try to master 10 skills at once. Scattered effort creates average ability. Concentrated effort creates an advantage. Spend enough time on one valuable discipline to understand what beginners cannot see. Learn how the work is priced, how clients make decisions, where competitors fail, and what separates acceptable results from exceptional ones. But competence alone is not enough. You must also learn to make your value visible. A brilliant professional who cannot explain their contribution may remain underpaid. A capable creator who never publishes remains invisible. A skilled negotiator who never enters the room has no influence. Perception cannot replace substance for long, but substance without perception is often overlooked. This is where Machiavellian realism becomes useful. The world does not automatically discover the most deserving person. People respond to what they can see, understand, and trust. Your responsibility is therefore twofold. Become genuinely valuable, then communicate that value strategically. Eventually, a powerful skill gives you more than income. It gives you mobility. You can change employers, negotiate stronger terms, attract clients, create products, or enter new markets. You become less dependent on permission. But skill alone will not make you wealthy. If every dollar still depends on your next hour of labor, you have only built a more valuable job. The next transformation begins when you stop selling only what you can do and start owning what your work creates. Labor creates income. Ownership creates wealth. This distinction is simple, but it explains why two people can work equally hard and end up in completely different financial positions. One is paid once for each hour of effort. The other owns something that can continue producing value after the original work is finished. Consider an employee who helps build a successful company. She improves operations, serves customers, and contributes to growing revenue. Her salary may increase, and she may receive a bonus. But most of the long-term value she creates accumulates in an asset owned by someone else. If she leaves, the company keeps its brand, systems, customers, and future profits. She leaves with experience and her final paycheck. The owner remains connected to the value. This does not mean every employee is exploited or that everyone should immediately start a business. Employment can provide training, stability, relationships, and capital. The strategic mistake is allowing your labor to create ownership only for other people, while you build nothing that belongs to you. Ownership can take many forms. It might be equity in a business, a carefully chosen investment, intellectual property, a digital product, a brand, a piece of useful content, or a system that serves customers without requiring your constant presence. The form matters less than the principle. You remain connected to the future value of what you helped create. At first, ownership is often unimpressive. A small investment produces little. A new product attracts few buyers. A side business may struggle to cover its costs. This is where most people retreat. They compare the immediate certainty of wages with the slow and uncertain rewards of ownership. But wages and ownership behave differently over time. Labor is usually linear. You work, you are paid, and the transaction ends. Ownership can accumulate. A product improves, a customer base expands, a brand earns trust, or capital compounds. The work performed yesterday may continue supporting the value created tomorrow. Ownership also changes how you think. When you own the outcome, you begin noticing costs, incentives, customer behavior, risks, and opportunities that employees can afford to ignore. You stop asking only, "What task must I complete?" and start asking, "What system creates this result?" That question is the beginning of financial power. You do not need to abandon your job to begin. You can use a controlled portion of your income, time, and skill to build or acquire assets gradually. Start small enough to survive mistakes, but seriously enough to learn from them. The brutal truth is that hard work alone cannot guarantee wealth. If all your effort disappears into consumption or permanently strengthens assets owned by others, you may become highly productive without becoming financially powerful. Skill increases what your time is worth. Ownership allows that value to remain connected to you. And once you own something valuable, The next question is how to make it grow beyond the limits of your personal effort. That is where leverage begins. Leverage is what allows a small amount of effort to produce a result far greater than the effort itself. Without leverage, income remains tied to personal capacity. You have 24 hours, limited energy, and only so many decisions you can make well each day. Even if your skill becomes extremely valuable, there is still a ceiling on how many clients you can serve or how many hours you can sell. Leverage breaks that ceiling. A worker asks, "How much can I complete today?" An owner asks, "What can I build today that continues producing tomorrow?" That change in question separates the overworked from those who create scalable wealth. There are four major forms of leverage. The first is capital. Money can purchase productive assets, fund expansion, or give a proven system more room to grow. But capital only magnifies the quality of the decision behind it. When used without knowledge, it can multiply losses as quickly as gains. The second is technology. Software, automation, and digital tools allow one person to perform work that once required an entire team. A process built once can operate thousands of times without demanding the same effort again. The third is media. A salesperson can speak to one customer at a time. A video, book, podcast, or article can communicate with thousands or millions. Media turns knowledge into an asset that travels without its creator. The fourth is people and systems. A business becomes scalable when knowledge no longer exists only inside the founder's head. Clear processes allow other capable people to reproduce results without constant supervision. But leverage is not magic. It amplifies whatever already exists. If your product is useful, leverage can spread its value. If your system is broken, leverage spreads the damage. If your judgment is poor, borrowed money or rapid expansion can turn a manageable mistake into a disaster. This is why leverage should follow competence, not replace it. Begin with a result you can produce consistently. Document the process. Remove unnecessary steps. Test it at a small scale. Only then should you add capital, technology, media, or other people. Machiavellian strategy is not about taking the largest possible risk. It is about understanding where a small, controlled action can create disproportionate influence. The most powerful position is not always occupied by the person working the hardest. It often belongs to the person who controls the system through which everyone else's effort flows. Skill makes your hour more valuable. Ownership connects you to the result. Leverage allows that result to expand without requiring your life to expand with it. And in the modern economy, one form of leverage has become especially powerful: the ability to capture attention and turn it into trust. Attention is one of the most valuable forms of leverage because money cannot move toward an offer people never notice. You may possess an excellent skill, product, or idea, but if no one understands it, trusts it, or remembers it, its economic value remains limited. This is uncomfortable for people who believe quality should speak entirely for itself. Quality matters, but it must first enter someone's awareness. That is why perception has always been connected to power. Machiavelli understood that people respond not only to what is true, but also to what they can see and interpret. In modern markets, this does not mean deceiving people. It means presenting real value in a form the human mind can quickly recognize. People rarely buy products for purely logical reasons. They buy progress, relief, belonging, convenience, security, status, and hope. A watch may measure time, but a luxury brand sells distinction. A course may contain information, but the buyer may be purchasing confidence and a new professional identity. A financial service may manage money, but what the customer truly wants is peace of mind. The strategic creator therefore asks two questions. What problem does my offer solve, and what emotion does solving that problem create? When you understand both, Communication becomes more powerful. You stop listing features and begin showing transformation. You do not merely explain what something is. You make clear why it matters to the person in front of you. But attention alone is fragile. It can make people look at you, yet only trust makes them stay. Trust develops when your message is clear, your evidence is credible, your promises remain controlled, and your actions repeatedly match your words. This is where many people destroy their advantage. They exaggerate to gain attention, receive a temporary audience, and then lose the reputation that could have produced lasting wealth. The strongest sequence is simple. Attention creates an opportunity. Value creates trust. Trust creates influence. Influence creates demand. Demand creates revenue. If you reverse the sequence and chase revenue before delivering value, the system eventually collapses. You also need visibility. A skilled person who never publishes, speaks, demonstrates, or asks for an opportunity may remain invisible indefinitely. The market cannot reward value. It cannot identify. Learning to present your work is not vanity. It is part of making your usefulness accessible. Build something real. Explain it clearly. Show proof. Earn trust slowly. Because when people recognize your value and trust your ability to deliver it, money begins moving toward you. But attracting money and keeping it are two entirely different games. Making money rewards aggression, creativity, and the willingness to move. Keeping money rewards patience, restraint, and the ability to recognize danger. These are different psychological skills, which is why a person can become wealthy quickly and lose everything just as fast. The first threat is lifestyle inflation. Income rises and spending immediately follows. The larger home, newer car, luxury watch, and expensive experiences create the appearance of progress. But if every increase in income produces an equal increase in obligation, nothing has fundamentally changed. The numbers are larger, but dependence remains. This is how people become rich in public and fragile in private. They use money to purchase approval before using it to purchase security. They display success to strangers while remaining one crisis away from financial collapse. The desire to look wealthy quietly destroys the ability to become wealthy. Real wealth is usually less visible. It exists in reserves, productive assets, controlled expenses, manageable obligations, and the ability to survive without panic when conditions change. It does not need constant applause because its purpose is not performance. Its purpose is protection. Every dollar you keep should have a strategic role. Some money protects you from emergencies, some finances future opportunities, some acquires assets. Some allows you to wait instead of accepting a desperate agreement. Money becomes powerful when it increases the number of decisions you can make without fear. But protection also requires boundaries. As your resources grow, more people may want access to them. Some will offer opportunities, others will bring pressure, manipulation, or promises they cannot fulfill. This is where clear agreements, careful verification, and the courage to say no become essential. Trust is valuable, but trust without structure creates vulnerability. Machiavellian realism does not require paranoia. It requires recognizing that incentives shape behavior. Do not judge an opportunity only by how persuasive it sounds. Ask who benefits, who carries the risk, what happens if the plan fails, and whether the agreement still makes sense without emotional pressure. Wealth can disappear through one reckless investment, uncontrolled debt, a destructive partnership, or years of spending designed to impress people who contribute nothing to your future. So, protect what you build. Avoid decisions made from ego, fear, or urgency. Understand where your money goes, what it owns, and what risks are attached to it. Because financial power is not measured by the amount that passes through your hands. It is measured by what remains under your control. The more control you gain over money, the more clearly you begin to see how much of your old life was built around approval. When you start changing, the people around you may not understand. Friends may call you obsessed because you no longer spend as freely as they do. Family members may interpret new financial boundaries as selfishness. Colleagues may mock the project you are building after work until it begins to succeed. Then the criticism changes. Some will say you were lucky. Others will say money changed you. Few will acknowledge the years of discipline, uncertainty, and invisible effort that produced the result. Your progress may remind them of decisions they postponed, risks they avoided, or abilities they never developed. It is often easier to reduce your achievement than to confront their own regret. This is one of the hidden prices of building wealth. Your growth can disrupt relationships that depended on your old limitations. But be careful. Not every critic is jealous, and not every broken relationship proves you are succeeding. Sometimes people resist you because ambition has made you arrogant, absent, or dishonest. Strategic thinking requires enough self-control to examine criticism before rejecting it. Ask whether the person wants to protect you or control you. Ask whether their warning contains evidence or only discomfort. Then decide without anger. Machiavellian realism is not emotional isolation. It is the ability to understand incentives without becoming consumed by suspicion. You do not need to treat everyone as an enemy. You need to recognize which relationships support your growth, which ones challenge you honestly, and which ones require you to remain small. Wealth also attracts new relationships, and not all of them are sincere. Some people may value your access, status, or resources more than your character. This is why boundaries become more important as your options expand. Generosity without judgment can become exploitation. Loyalty without verification can become betrayal. The goal is not to become cold, it is to become clear. You may lose some approval as you build independence. You may occasionally stand alone, while others question choices they cannot yet understand. But if you sacrifice your future to preserve universal acceptance, you will discover that approval is an expensive currency, and it purchases very little freedom. Because the final purpose of wealth is not to make everyone admire you. It is to ensure that admiration is no longer something you need in order to choose your own life. Money is often mistaken for wealth because it is easy to measure. But having money does not automatically give you power. Its power depends on what it allows you to control. A person can earn an impressive income and still have no authority over their own life. Their employer controls their schedule, debt controls their decisions, lifestyle expectations control their spending. Fear of losing status controls their behavior. They may look wealthy, but their choices still belong to others. Real wealth changes that relationship. It gives you the ability to reject an abusive agreement, leave a destructive environment, survive a temporary loss of income, or wait for the right opportunity. It allows you to decide where your time goes, who receives your attention, and which problems deserve your energy. This is why consumption is a poor measure of financial success. A luxury purchase may create a temporary feeling of power while reducing your future options. An invisible asset may increase your control for years. One is designed to be seen, the other is designed to protect your freedom. Machiavellian finance follows a clear principle. Money becomes power only when it reduces the control that circumstances and other people have over you. But lasting control begins with self-command. Without it, more money simply gives your weaknesses a larger budget. Money does not erase character, it amplifies it. The highest form of wealth is therefore not being able to buy anything you want. It is being able to walk away from anything that tries to own you. Wealth is not built in a single decision. It is built every time you choose discipline over impulse, skill over distraction, ownership over appearance, and strategy over comfort. The brutal truth is that no one is coming to create your freedom for you. Your employer, the economy, and the people around you may influence your circumstances, but they cannot build your independence. That responsibility belongs to you. Learn something valuable. Use your income to acquire assets. Build systems that can grow beyond your time. Protect what you create, and never confuse looking wealthy with becoming powerful. Most importantly, use money to reclaim control over your choices, not to purchase the approval of strangers. If you are ready to stop chasing appearances and start building financial power, subscribe to Money is Power. And comment, "I choose control" below, not as motivation, but as a decision. Because wealth begins when excuses end.